Well, welcome back, everybody, to our totally not semi-annular to annular to I don't even know what 1.5 years is podcast on all things racing with your two resident idiots. This resident idiot is Matt, and that resident idiot is Ilya.
Hello, hello. Indeed, we are creeping up to 2 years without one, so we decided to record something. Well, we had an occasion this time around, as Lewis Hamilton secures his fifth World Championship, which he should have secured a bit earlier, but oh well. So
Yeah.
this F1 season, it had promise.
It
And
did. It really, from what I've seen of the race results, it it started off in typical sort of Ferrari of late fashion, with a very strong start, and Seb is going to get the title with Ferrari and bring the German and the Italian back together in a way we haven't seen since the Second War, and it had all the makings of a spectacle. And then, it's interesting. In past years, you could almost say that it was Ferrari's fault and Seb did everything he could, but this year Seb just blew it.
I don't know what happened to him, but race after race after race, he just did some bonehead moves, and I guess as he made another one, he just got more and more desperate, making more and more mistakes. It felt to me like Grosjean almost.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, a bit. Trying too hard to make up for a silly error and then absolutely just wrecking himself along the way. I mean, well, in Grosjean's case, literally. It was weird. I guess maybe just the optics of completely blowing your home Grand Prix in the way that he did. He just never recovered from it, and well, now we have Lulu on the podium one more time. Well, not on the podium in this last race because reasons, but yeah, going for 5. If he keeps going like this, he'll end up beating Schumacher in the end, which would, I guess, just give Vettel another middle finger. Suck a Germany, you're not on top anymore.
True, but I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. Like, we have next 2 years with basically similar regs but less front wing, which, I mean, let's be honest, error was never Mercedes' strong fault, as we've noticed every single time it was behind another car. It's just incapable of passing or driving anywhere near it. So the next 2 seasons are probably gonna be still Merck's strong suit, but then 2021 is an absolute wild card, as far as I'm aware.
It seems like it, yeah. I mean, aerodynamically, it is different. Clean air versus dirty air behind a car, what you set it up for. And you rightly point out that Merck had weaknesses following in traffic. But then again, to be fair, everyone had weaknesses following in traffic this year. I mean, there's a reason this has been dubbed Formula One now, because it's just god awful 9 times out of 10. Occasional glimmers of hope, like Austin aside, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and we could go into the ground effect debate if we wanted, but they keep dodging the obvious, easy to implement and actually effective solution because they're scared of something. I don't know, but yeah, 2021 it will be interesting. I mean, assuming that Mercedes don't sign Russell and Russell becomes amazing. If they keep Bottas as second fiddle, Hamilton should, barring any sort of revelation from Ferrari and Vettel getting the stick out his ass, should have the next 2 years locked. Yeah, again, I can say that with some confidence because we thought at the beginning of this year, oh, Merc aren't on it, and then they just dump all the Deutschmarks into their factory, and the next thing you know, wham bam, there you go.
That's true. I mean, Ferrari are improving. Ferrari, I'm gonna say, are the best team in terms of, well, engine and aero combo. Separately, I'm gonna say Red Bull is still the best aerodynamically because Adrian Newey is a mad genius, still. And on engine alone, Merc is probably better than Ferrari, but if you combine these two, Ferrari is marginally but still stronger than Mercedes, I'm gonna say. But then you have Lewis, who can basically pull a win out of his ass whenever he needs, and Ferrari, that if Vettel doesn't screw up, then the car breaks down. If the car doesn't break down, then the Ferrari strategists decide to throw the race away. If they don't decide to throw the race away, just somebody decides to to stay in the middle of a road and wreck him. And then there's a whole second driver politics and Kimi being grumpy all the time. I'm not even starting with Bottas because he basically won't lose the race in Italy.
Yeah, for sure. It's, you know, it's just funny to see that the team, as we mentioned, the driver politics, the team that explicitly makes it a point usually to run 1-2s is the one that ends up, well, getting shafted because, well, their strategists fuck it up anyway. Yeah, I don't get what it is with. I don't know. So that's one thing I don't understand. How you look at a team strategically, like Williams or Sauber. Williams have been slow as hell, right? But
Yeah.
strategically, they haven't made too many mistakes. Granted, it wouldn't matter in the end because of how slow they are, but they haven't made too many mistakes. And how a team like them can do that while your Ferrari main squad can absolutely blow it, I don't understand.
See, I would make a case out of Williams because we generally don't know if they screwed up or not. Because either way, the drivers are two last drivers, they just shuffle positions every once in a while. Like, we have no idea if they drive a 5-stop or 17-stop strategy. That's not going to change where they finish.
No, but their strategies seem to match the strategies of the teams that are doing well and doing well on strategy. You know what I mean? Like they're running similar strategies to the tops, like your Mercedes sort of teams. And so yeah, while it is difficult to tell completely, I think there's some correlation there. I don't know how a marquee team like Ferrari can utterly blow it consistently. It's not even like it's one race or two. Okay, everyone has a fuck up.
Years.
But yeah, every year, and normally to their second driver, which of course always begs the question. But then this year, Seb got a lot of it too. I mean, in past years they've cost Seb a victory here, a victory there. But this year it was just like anytime Seb wasn't spinning himself in the latter half of the season, Ferrari were blowing it.
Basically, I mean,
with the exception of US, that was the only race I think where Ferrari like legitimately beat someone else on strategy.
and in spectacular fashion, it wasn't Vettel that benefited from it because he was too busy facing the wrong way.
Yep, it was good to see. I watched that podium.
It's
and I smiled.
Quite interesting where the Ferrari goes with straight. I mean, something is always in Ferrari's way. It seems like they fix one issue, the other one arises. And speaking of fixing the issues, we're gonna talk about it later with Red Bull, because I'm gonna pop a fucking vein in it.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Exactly. I mean, this battle for championship was pretty much done in Italy. When
I would say it was done in Germany.
I mean, fair, but
once Vettel threw his home race in such a spectacular fashion. I mean, yeah, with hindsight being what it is, like as it was progressing, yeah, Italy looked like it was a nail in the coffin. But looking back on the season, I mean, really, Germany is where it first started going to hell.
True. I mean, it swung back after Lewis retired in Austria, and then it swung back on Vettel, which is kind of funny because Vettel also failed to capitalize on that in Austria. He just got third. That was one of the rare occasions when Red Bull decided to show up and spoil everyone's celebrations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is also quite a hilarious moment when your world champion is not even on a freaking podium.
Yeah, that's he's done that before though. I mean, he did that in 08. It is just one of those weird sort of things.
Yeah.
I'll always remember the Ferrari mechanic punching the TV.
Yeah, I mean, as we continue to talk with that, there is a whole new debate about Formula 1.5, which was highlighted in Mexico, of all things, when you have Lewis in 4th place, then Bottas in 5th, a lap down, and then Hülkenberg is in 6th, 2 laps down. You have one driver in a lap. That is not always a thing in WEC, and you're not racing for 24 fucking hours, just 2. I have no idea how you managed to do that, but Formula 1 has done it, and if it keeps doing that, I mean, What's the point of a series? Can you just split it up? Just have six
Well, I mean,
cars
in
duke
this
it out
case,
and
it's
a
a little
track?
bit unique because Mexico is a short track. It's a shorter track and a lot of straights. And so you're going to see the works teams or the top teams just absolutely run.
Monaco is a short track. Austria is a short track.
Yeah, but not a lot of long straights.
Well,
They're not fast tracks.
half of the track in Austria is straight. I mean, I understand you.
I mean, the
I understand your
going, like,
point.
20 miles an hour.
I mean, I understand the point because in Austria also 3 people were on the lead lap, but at the same time, the big 3 did not lap each other.
Right, but I kind of get what you're saying, right? I mean, this is turning into almost like every race is like the 2005 U.S. Grand Prix, 2007 U.S. Grand Prix, right? That was the one that had 6 cars, right? The Germans, the Ferraris, and the Minardi.
2005.
It was 5. Okay, I was right the first time. Yeah,
It's multi-class. It's multi-class.
Yeah, and you know, that always makes me laugh though, because then when you hear people saying, you know, this team is like, oh, the works team is giving this team all the this and not us and all this, I'm like, guys, you're all in the same boat. You're all accepting the genitals, while the top 6 guys are just there, just like la ta da, flying away from you.
Basically, and at the same time, you can say a lot of things, but Merck is the only one who doesn't properly have a second team.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. You could argue that Williams is sort of the de facto second team.
They don't have any drivers there.
They're gonna have.
Well, they're gonna have Russell for
Russell.
freaking finally, but until then, Williams had nothing from except from engines. But at the same, I mean, if we're going by engines, then Force India is
that's what I'm
worse
saying.
team.
That's what I said. De facto team, sort of, is because like if you had to pick one, you pick that one. But yeah. I understand what you're saying. Well, I mean,
It's like
then you have the whole situation with Honda, and that gets interesting. But yeah,
Red Bull is the only fair competitor in that regard. They have a second team. They know they have a second team. They're not hiding they have a second team.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, the name itself translates to Red Bull in Italian.
Toro Rosso is basically there. They bent over for a year to test Honda for Red Bull. They are basically a farm team. And tell me about a driver that did get promoted to Red Bull, not from Toro Rosso.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Ferrari kinda does that with Sauber-ish.
And Haas-ish.
Well, Haas, I mean,
in theory, Ferrari should have a 2-tier system, right? In theory, it should go Sauber to Haas to Ferrari.
as long as they
But
fucking
Haas
have Magnussen there, I refuse to acknowledge it.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like that's what it should work like in theory. But Haas has kind of just decided, you know, no, we're not going to just bend over for you. Like, thanks for the engine and gearbox, but we're doing our own thing, babes.
Kind of the same
I mean,
thing
yeah.
with-
Plus, I mean, forget Magnussen, Grosjean in a Ferrari. Holy God, no. No.
And the same thing with Force India. I guess they are the prime client of the Merc, but they're not bending over. And Merc seems to be pissed about it, while it's them who should be establishing their fucking B team and getting Ocon's ass in there. Because when Bottas goes, Ocon and Russell are the 2 people who should be in that seat.
Yeah, the thing is right, and you pointed it out correctly. Is the bitching? You've heard Toto Wolff in the past, but not enough teams in this sport anymore, and we don't have a junior team. So form a team.
Yep.
You have enough money to financially, safely support this team's WDC and WCC efforts year in, year out. You're fine on money. Form a junior team. Get together, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, they have tag wire for Red Bull. Start like Rolex Formula One or something. You know what I mean? But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
They had the tie-in with Aston Martin or something. Make an Aston Martin F1 team. I know Red Bull kind of have that now, but Aston Martin's worked with Mercedes in the past. Or do who else does Mercedes supply? Pagani. There, you want an Italian marquee alongside? Do Pagani. Or you know, it can be done. The point is they want to complain about it and not do anything about it. They're like people who don't vote in elections. They bitch about the result, but then it's like, well, you had a chance to actually do something about it. Yeah, but I didn't want it. Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, basically. I mean, with Mercedes and the Mercedes division being what's Daimler?
Yeah.
Call it a fucking smart for all I care. As long as it's as long as it's there, as long as it's getting money and has 2 seats for your young drivers.
Yeah.
Fuck it, go with one driver.
Benz own like Rolls Royce or I think, or some luxury marquee like that, don't they? Maybach. Do Maybach F1.
Jesus Christ! Imagine
imagine
how bulky it would look.
Well, it can't look much worse than the cars do now.
I bring you 2013. Sorry, 14.
I mean, I take penis nose over Halo any day.
Imagine both.
At least the penis nose had a point. It had a purpose.
Not when they switched to a shovel. Did the same thing, but at least it was, granted, not the best solution, but it was better than a dick in front of a car. Or vagina.
I'll forget when Caterham showed off their car.
Or, in case of Lotus, a vagina.
Caterham shows off their car. Taki Inui starts tweeting. I'm like, oh god, here we go.
That was something. I guess the best effort was by Force India trying to make it black. First of all, it was properly big. Second of all, it was somewhat concealed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that one. I'm not touching that joke. No. Not on our new politically correct podcast we have to do now because we have sponsorship. Yay!
Yeah, right. They don't pay shit. Anyway,
I know.
I guess we should go team by team as we always do.
Yeah, that's usually what we do, and it usually works decently well.
Perfect. So, as I am looking up the constructor standings, let's start with the Mercedes, or Lewis Hamilton and his bitch that is not called Roscoe.
Yeah, pretty much. What else is there to say about them? They started off shaky a little bit. There was tension. There was excitement. I was actually like, oh my god, we might actually have a proper, Formula One championship where Vettel and Hamilton and maybe the Red Bulls are up there and battling it out, and like the years of old where you'd have, just look at the 80s where you'd have winners all over the place. Yeah, I was excited, and then they just sunk a whole shit ton of money into it, as is their right to do, and they just started dominating. And then Vettel decided to give up. So credit to them. Strong car. Hamilton's a strong driver, as much as I can't stand him anymore. He's officially lost me since the last year and a half has gone by, just because I just can't anymore. I can't deal with it. But Bottas, part of me has some sympathy because, well, you're up against Lewis Hamilton. As much of a prissy queen as he is, he's an incredibly fast driver. So part of me feels some sympathy. Part of me also feels some sympathy because he is the team's bitch. But at the same time, he has had opportunities, and he's mostly wasted them. Be it flaccid defense, not willing to attack,
no problem, Nicholas.
or just straight up screwing up. He's not really taking his chances. And I'm a little disappointed, to say the least.
To be fair,
expected more from him.
To be fair, Russian Grand Prix, that was his race. He was told to move over for Lewis to win. That was his opportunity. He didn't fail. I guess I wouldn't touch on the Japanese because Lewis ran away early with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Russia was there. That was one race of 22. Yeah, 21. How many races do we have?
19.
Oh, wow, really? Okay, I thought it was 20.
Well, 19 ran this year. I just have to do.
Oh, okay, so 21 total. Yeah,
21 total. Yeah, we had Brazil and Abu Dhabi.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next 2 races, I guess. But which will probably have been done by the time this goes live. But okay, so 19 races. He had a good race in Russia. He seems to really like that for some reason. It must be a Finnish thing. But I don't know, man. To me, he is. This is how I felt about Perez. I thought Perez was going to be the new hotness back in the day, and still a good driver, no doubt about it. Still quick, but nowhere near what I thought his potential was, and so that's disappointing to me.
Okay, that makes sense. So, what do you do if you're Bottas?
Well, there's not much you really can do, right? I mean, Ferrari are very clearly set for the future, right? So Vettel's not going anywhere, and Leclerc is the new hotness. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
fine. Red Bull, I mean, even if they had an opening with, it is confirmed they're going to Honda, right?
Yes. Yes. They
Okay, yeah,
confirmed
I thought so. So that's always a risk there. Plus the fact that they have their own sort of feeder team structure going on, right? It comes back to the problem that we were saying before. The one advantage of Mercedes in the sense is they don't have a feeder team to pull from. But where else do you go? Are you happy to continue to play second fiddle to the top driver in the series at this point? Or, do you try to make a move elsewhere to make a name for yourself in the teammate battle, knowing that you've given up the fastest car in the field? I think he's kind of in a catch-22 at this point if he wants to stay in the sport, because he's in the best seat, but he's also up against the best driver. And so what do you do? It would be like saying, what's Ricardo to do back when Seb was with him as a teammate, or Weber for that matter, right? It's a similar sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But at least Weber gave Seb a run for his money back in 2010. So, you know.
Okay, so basically for Bottas, sit there, enjoy your cash, and when your replacement move over and find something else to do?
I mean, I hate to think that, but I mean, that seems to be the way it is. Unless there's a new team that forms that he can slot into, or if Hamilton just decides that he'd rather do fashion shows and pet his dogs all day, and decides to retire, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, Bottas is in the prime seat to take over, because then I would assume, if that happened tomorrow, I would assume that Russell would get moved straight away into the Mercedes seat. But then again, what does it do with Ocon? Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to take that back. I didn't even think about Ocon. So Ocon would get the Mercedes seat, and Russell would do his formative run in Williams. But then Bottas would have the advantage of knowing the team. But then again, see, I'm left at the point is, do I think that Bottas is a stronger driver than Ocon? I don't know. I don't think so. So I think he's just kind of screwed.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. So okay, then what do you do if you're Mercedes? Apart from the logical part of make a new fucking team.
I mean, I think that is the more pressing question. What do Mercedes do? You have, at this point now, one seat for 3 drivers. I mean, unless Hamilton decides to quit, Mercedes is going to keep him no matter what the cost is. Period. There is no question about that. Okay, so one seat in there is guaranteed, gone, done, accounted for. The other seat you have 3 candidates for, realistically, potentially 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bottas is a known quantity, and it depends. I had to punch my microphone. It depends on what Mercedes are looking for, right? Toto keeps saying how he wants to have the 2 drivers who are racing against each other and da. But then he's more than happy to the wingman comment I think was the ultimate Freudian slip of the season. So they say one thing, but on the other hand, they don't want them racing because it's Hamilton's team, more or less, just like Ferrari is Seb's team. Bottas is very clearly willing to play the number 2 role. At this stage in his career, I believe that Russell would also be willing to play the number 2 role. He wouldn't care. If Mercedes called him tomorrow for the seat, he'd be like, fuck yeah. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Ocon, I'm not sure about. Ocon, I think, would actually push Hamilton, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the raw talent to do it. It's whether or not he can refine it. So it depends on what Mercedes wants. They have a decision to make. I think that from what I've seen from their team, they're going to go with the safe bet and just say keep Botas around at least for another year. I don't know how many years he has left on his contract. But
Bonus. Let me actually check.
yeah, I'm not sure if he only has one more year or two. If he has one, that's one thing. If he has two, we might see another Finn getting bought out of his contract.
Ahead of the
come
German
20.
Grand Prix, Bottas signed a new contract with Merck for the 2019 season with an option for the 2020.
Oh, well, then it depends on whose option it is. If it's his option to continue or their option to execute on the contract. I would assume it would be their option to execute, which is smart tactically from Mercedes because then it gives Russell a chance to impress. But then what of Ocon, right? You know, it sucks for him. It's a shame. It really is a shame that he's not going to be on the grid. It doesn't seem like, unless they can.
We have basically two spots open.
What's left open? A seat at Toro Rosso hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's probably going to be Kvyat.
Toro Rosso, Williams.
Okay. So Checo is confirmed to stay at Force India, so that's going to be interesting. I would assume. So was that move confirmed? Lance to Force India?
Nope.
Okay.
Everybody assumed since Lawrence bought it. They never announced it.
I mean, that would be fucked up if Daddy bought the team and then the son didn't get a seat.
Technically, for the next year, we have 3 spots that are not confirmed. Technically, we have
Williams, Force India, and Toro Rosso.
We have one in Toro Rosso alongside Kvyat. We have one in what was Force India alongside Checo, and one in Williams alongside Russell.
White.
That's right. They haven't confirmed Hartley. I forgot about that. They have confirmed Kvyat, but not Hartley.
Man.
Yes.
Which is bullshit, but that's another. We'll talk about that later. I can't see Force India going anywhere but with Stroll. So let's just assume for now that's taken. But then again, it could be a fight between Daddy Stroll and Mercedes.
Can be, but remember who saved the team. Daddy Lawrence can say bye-bye and leave them to die if they don't put plans there. The team doesn't have money, and Merck wasn't ready to give him money.
But then again, if that was part of the bailout package, you would have thought it would have been talked about by now. You thought we should know by now if that was a condition in the contract. Like, there's no reason to keep that under wraps.
Maybe because there's some contract obligation with Williams. Might have to do something with paperwork, but I see where you're coming from. The person that's struggling because of it is Ocon. Because he doesn't
Then again,
know.
if he has that much money, I mean, it could be that Stroll will fund both. He has a team now. Keep his son in the Williams if he's contractually obligated. I don't know if it's complicated, but like you were suggesting, Ocon's the one getting screwed left, right, and center.
Basically, there's no spot for him. I mean, we're assuming Toro Rosso is not gonna outsource a driver and just go with Albon. Because they basically pulled Albon out of Formula E, and Albon is now hung up in the air, and Formula E Sport has like 17,000 CVs sent to them. So the only logical step would to throw Albon there, and Albon is the only driver upon completion of Formula 2, unless he magically loses all the points, doesn't finish a single race, and ends up 6th apart from 2nd in one weekend that's left, then he won't have enough for a super license, but that's virtually impossible. It's basically as likely as Vettel getting the title ahead of Mexico.
Yeah.
I guess they're waiting for the weekend maybe to announce him, like as soon as he gets super license.
It could be that. I mean, it would be stupid to announce and then all of a sudden couldn't get it. But then I'm sure there'd be a rule there that you could get a dispensation. But I don't know. That I never understood. I mean, it should be simple because of the point system, but I never really followed that deeply.
Well,
But yeah, so
assuming Toro Rosso stays sourced from within, that means 2 seats, Williams and for what was Force India.
Force India, yeah, Racing Point or whatever, yeah, whatever it'll be called.
We
I
have
mean,
Stroll, we have Ocon, we
a straight
have
swap wouldn't be out of the picture. Ocon to Williams, Stroll the other way.
so you assuming
But
Sirotkin is gone. Well, don't
then it
forget
becomes
we
a
have
battle of can Mercedes outspend whatever Sirotkin's backers are giving them.
Sirotkin, we have Ollie Rowland, that was a Renault rookie, but there are no
And lest we
spaces in
forget
Renault
also
anytime soon.
Yeah.
We have somewhere on the horizon waving his Polish flag Kubica, and we have Artem Markelov, that also was a Renault rookie, but there is literally no space in Renault in the foreseeable future, so we have both Roland and Markelov looking for a spot. So, looking at all the avenues, we have about 6, maybe 7 drivers for 1.5 spots.
And we're also assuming that Honda doesn't throw their money into the ring. They try to set up a short-term move for one of their proteges.
Who?
Who's the Japanese in F2?
They have a couple, but Jesus Christ, they're not good.
Oh, I know. They're not top quality. Neither is Toro Rosso. And
I mean, that's fair.
And well, yeah. And I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't put it past Honda to try to elevate one of their own. In the Premier Racing Series. I don't know. I mean, there's a thing. Why doesn't Honda have a works team? But that's neither here nor there.
I guess they tried to make one out of McLaren, then it failed miserably. I mean, they have what? They have, strictly looking at Japanese, I'm not sure who has direct connection with Honda. We have...
There was a driver in there, I can't remember now.
We have Tadasuke Makino, who is in Russian time alongside Markelov, but he is near useless apart from one race in Monza that he suddenly won. Apart from that, he got points in a grand total of 6 or 7 races out of 22 he raced. He's out of top 10. And they have Nirei Fukuzumi that is racing in Super Formula and Formula 2 this year and was in ART. But this year in Formula 2 he's even worse. He's like 15th or 16th in the championship in Aden. And he like dead last in Super Formula.
So Honda's drivers are like Honda's engines.
Basically, they're shit.
Fair enough. It's a bad situation and not one that has an easy scenario. Let's just, I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Unless another team materializes, Mercedes will keep bitching about not having a junior team, but unlike Ferrari and, I mean, I guess Renault has sort of a junior team, kinda-ish.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, even Honda's now going to have that concept. I mean, the point is they need to act. Quit bitching and act. That's the end of it.
Sounds about right. Well, on the terms of shuffling of the teams, let's proceed to the next one. Scuderia Ferrari. This year...
yeah.
This year is a roller coaster of emotions for both drivers involved.
Come on, 287, let's do this together, mate.
Pretty much.
Started out strong for Vettel. Well, then he just spun around, literally and figuratively. For Kimi, it was disappointment after disappointment, and fucking finally he managed to last a whole goddamn race and win one after he blew it in Italy. Finally got one in the States, arguably with the one and only great move by the Ferrari strategy team.
Well, yeah, considering the Ferrari strategy team lost them Italy, I mean,
It's on the
exactly right. Ferrari continue to be their own worst enemy in pretty much anything they do. it's strong. Arrivabene is a good leader, and he's a good team manager. He's the best they've had in a long time. He's got the attitude. He's got the passion. They got the development. I mean, their car is quick. The car is very quick. And it can handle dirty air better than the Merc can. That said, there's just something fundamentally wrong with the way that the strategists in that team work. I don't know if it's because they're in half Italian and half English or what. Like, I say that facetiously, but I really, there's got to be something because, I mean, they blow it left, right, and center. That being said, they're still within a shout of the constructors, aren't they?
They are currently 50-some points behind. Yeah, they're 55 points back.
Yeah,
With
I mean,
two races to go. I mean, Mercedes has to die, basically.
Well, but I mean, they could. With Bottas being as weak as he is, and with Hamilton having won, creeping a little complacency, or even if it's not through the fault of him, even if he does everything he has to do, a Merc can die.
I mean, if we're looking at 1-2 for Ferrari with Mercs following, that would be, 43 for Ferrari and 27 for Merc?
Something like that.
So that's
I see what you're saying. So even
16
if it happens
points.
twice, they still can't take over.
It's still 32. They need another 23 points. So Merc basically needs either to DNF or to lose to Red Bulls as well.
Yeah, and I can't see that happening in.
At least for the sole reason of Ricciardo's car being unable to fucking finish.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, it could happen in Brazil. UAE, no.
Too many straights for that to happen.
Yeah, too many straights. Yeah, but Ferrari, as much as I don't like them, it would be nice to see them actually winning something again because they're a fast team, and there are a lot of people there that work really hard to cover for a lot of people there who fuck it up every other race. So, it would be nice to see those that don't fuck it up get rewarded for their efforts. What's the Italian national anthem? That's cool.
So what do we have for next year? We have Vettel and the second iteration of Jesus, Charles Leclerc, driving. Do you think 1-2, or you think the youngster is gonna ignore everything and just do what he wants to do?
Well, if Seb's recent form has been anything to go by, he's not going to have to. I mean, if Seb can't get his shit together, right? And we've seen dips and peaks and troughs, right? With Seb and with Hamilton especially. I mean, Hamilton's susceptible to it too. But they always, in the past, have pulled themselves out of it within like a couple races. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hamilton had that really bad race in Monaco back when Wishmarsh was a thing. 2012, I think it was. And he was off for a couple races after that, but then he got back on it. Seb has had a bad race or two last year, and he got back on it within a couple races. But really, since Germany, Seb has not been on it. He's been even in when he outclassed Hamilton. It wasn't by a sort of a champion's sort of margin, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could very easily see a scenario where Seb is a distant ways back early on, and they just let Charles Leclerc go for it. Or potentially, if Leclerc outqualifies Vettel at the beginning of the season, I could very easily see where he just takes off and runs into the distance. Possibly. I can't see a championship challenge from Leclerc yet. I don't see him as in the same situation Hamilton was, just because testing is so limited. But, I mean, I think he's going to be a challenge for him. Because I don't think he's going to be content with just sitting behind and helping Vettel.
Okay. Yeah, that has a chance of being really interesting. Then again, if Leclerc beats Vettel, remember last time Vettel was beaten by a teammate? Just backed up his shit and left.
Yep.
Where does he go? Like, theoretically, if he decides to move to another team, opening space for maybe Giovinazzi figures out how to fucking drive. I know, right? But still, like, if Vettel goes anywhere, where does he go?
Back to Red Bull.
You think they? Actually, that makes sense because Red Bull doesn't have anything in the pipeline.
Right. I
So-
mean, they don't have anything of his caliber really, except for Verstappen.
So
Verstappen's the only. But therein lies the big problem, right? Vettel versus Verstappen. I can't see. I can't see
Same
Vettel
thing.
winning that battle.
Same thing as he did with
I can't-
Ricciardo.
Exactly. I cannot see him winning that fight. And so the only place I could see him going is back. I mean, it's either going to be that or Mercedes. And
There
it'd
are
be
no
interesting to
spots
see
in
the two of them
Mercedes.
in the same. Huh?
There are no spots in Mercedes anytime soon.
Well, I mean, right. Assuming with how temperamental Seb can be, let's assume this is next year. Bottas is still in contract next year. He's out of contract. Seb is getting his ass kicked. I mean, Merc would spend whatever money they have to. Now the question's going to be is while it would be interesting to see Hamilton and Seb in the same team, now you have two prima donna queens in the same team who aren't going to be happy whenever the other guy beats them. I'm not saying it's going to be Alonso level 07, but it's going to be that tension. You know, it's a risk because then Mercedes also have to let them race. They can't pull a Bottas because Seb wouldn't listen to them, nor would Hamilton, I don't think.
Yeah, makes sense. So basically, Vettel needs a team that will be built around him. And if we look in the grid right now, what do we see? Nothing in the top half. You have absolutely empty Haas, maybe, because neither Grosjean nor Magnussen are gonna be stars anytime soon or ever. So do you plant Vettel in Haas and find him a youngster?
I mean, you could pull the Sauber, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the young and the experienced side by side.
It's just if Vettel leaves, I don't see this being a good move in any way, and I can see him being really pissed off because I genuinely think that Leclerc is the fastest driver of the team.